Look, all things going well, Neil. We'll be live now, mate. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Naked Passion Podcast. We got a tremendous guest this evening. I'd like to introduce you to him, ladies and gentlemen. We've got Mr. Neil McMillan. Neil is a sales expert and trainer with over a decade of experience. Neil helps businesses refine their sales processes and strategies to bring about business results. Neil is also a brilliant copywriter and has been to 25 countries and counting.
Thank you
Welcome,
very,
Neil.
thank you very much. What an intro.
What an intro.
There
How you
you
going,
go.
mate?
And he's coming just now. No,
Yeah.
Here he comes.
Yeah.
No,
Plot
that's me.
twist. I
Yeah,
like it.
yeah. It's been a crazy couple of years, especially when you just say that stuff out loud and the journey I've been on. So yeah, it's great to hear it back, really.
So before we open that up for the last couple of years, I guess, mate, let's start with what's the most exciting thing happening in your world right now?
As I said, over the last few years, really saw an opening in the market for business to business, training and sales kind of coaching going on. So I suppose
Yep.
the most exciting thing is that basically the opportunity that the business that I'm currently in can scale to. Like there is just no limit. I mean, we're really past that scalping phase. It's been kind of 8 to 9 months where all the hard work's been done, and we're really just starting to bear the fruits of the labor, as you say. So it's really exciting, the vision and where it's going.
You got an end goal in sight now? You got a grandiose sort of image in your head about where this beautiful thing could finish?
I am a psychology fan growing up, but I battle with that question to not have too many end goals, but understand where I'm going.
Yeah.
I like to keep the opportunity, as I say, open and vast as possible. But as kind of being a coach, I am kind of large on scheduling and goals and things like that, as you know. So look, like the end goal is just to have a great quality of life. That's the end goal.
I love that. How close are you at the moment?
Well, I enjoy little things in life already. Otherwise, you go a bit crazy. But like, look, I do feel blessed kind of every day. Like, I did migrate over to Australia 4 years ago. It is a beautiful country. I am from the UK. A little bit tougher back there than it is here.
Yeah.
There's an amazing amount of opportunity here. I'm saying to a lot of people now that I truly feel that Australia now, or in the last 5 years, is what the American dream must have been like in the 1970s in terms of real estate, in terms of what you can get on in the market, what you can, the businesses you can open, TikTok shop's not even here yet.
Yeah.
Amazon selling and e-com, is kind of, I think 20-30% of Australians do that on Amazon. So the opportunity is huge. I think just if you just put the work in.
Funny you say that. Going back years ago, I was on the Gold Coast living for a bit, looking after some restaurants, and there was this really cool Scottish head chef. Shout out to Greg. He'll be checking it out. But he said something very, very similar, Neil. He did say,
Yeah.
and this is going back bloody, what am I now? 39. You're talking, it'd be 15 years.
Yeah.
And even back then, he said it definitely feels like there's so much potential in Australia.
Mm.
And that was back then. So, mate, before we dive too deep into this, I want to get back to your little bit of an origin story with you.
Yeah.
But we got one of two traditions at the moment on the show.
Okay.
One is two truths and a lie. So we'll run through those with yourself. I'll have a
Mhm.
crack here. We've got three options. So number one, you're a professional singer, Neil. Interesting. Number two, you were born in Switzerland. Okay. And number three, you're quite proficient and can dance salsa. So love to cut a rug.
Tough
All
one.
right, mate. I'll do this by process of elimination. Mate, I quite like the tone in your voice. I reckon there's something there. I reckon we'll go a professional singer. Uh, and look, I'll be honest. In the spirit of transparency, ladies and gents, I actually do know the lie because of a chat we had not 3 minutes ago. But, mate, I actually would have picked salsa dancing as the lie, truth be told, just going through that, only because of the accent in Switzerland and all that sort of stuff.
There you
But
go.
of course, that ain't
It
the
was a good one.
truth. Yeah, yeah. So
I don't, it's the skin. I don't tan well enough here. You could have got away with the twisting one. So
yeah, mate. Nice.
yeah.
All right. Well, let's unpack those two. So professional singer. Talk us through that.
I was actually, yeah, I'll chat you through it. So my dad was actually a singing guitarist, so was always around it in the living room. And I think my earliest memory was picking up the guitar, putting it on my lap, and actually playing the guitar with my thumb. And I think it was the Linkin Park tune in the end. "Da, da, 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 da." And I think from
Nice.
that moment on, the family looked at me and kind of was like, okay, like he's serious about this. I really had those personality traits when I was a kid that I do now. I mean, obviously, when you get a bit older, you kind of look back at how you were as a kid, and it somehow amazes me because I was just so driven and determined. Once my mind's made up, I will do it, and I will try to be the best at it. So, yeah, I didn't do the best at school, wasn't really interested what was going on. Kind of end of 17, 18, I went straight into university. I was like to mum and dad, I was like, look, I'm going to be a professional musician. This is what I'm doing. Of course, they were like, oh my God, this is crazy. Because it's quite uncommon to go from school straight to university in England. So that's what I did. Yeah, did a 3-year degree in musicianship, singing, guitar, business, writing, that type of thing. And yeah, it was a really great time to be. 10 years in Brighton was probably the best place to be in. Had people like James Bay was in my class, the singer. George Ezra was our uni. Coldplay's bassist, Kate Nash. People like the Spice Girls, Paul Weller came into the school. Like it was just they created a contemporary music university for modern musicians, and it was just like the biggest thing at the time. But obviously that can play with your mind a little bit because you're around all this and think that's normal. But then the reality
Mm.
is that it's probably a day I'll never forget. I think it was like one of the headmasters came in on the end day of the 3-year course and was like, 80% of you will work a normal job, 20% of you will try it in music, and only 5% of you will make it. And he tells us this at the end of the degree, by the way. Um, but it was completely right. And I was just really stubborn. Obviously worked some normal jobs after university, coming out, 2021. But then I focused on, and actually out of necessity, due to make money through music, became a music teacher.
Oh,
Hence
right.
where the coaching and teaching begin. So look, if you've never done teaching, it really brings you out of your shell. I was quite an introvert growing up, being a musician, of course, but I really started to understand like the mind, and that's what got me into psychology as well, to understand people, because I was doing one-on-one lessons and I was really trying to tap into their mind, just kind of musically, mentally, and how I can understand my own, ways of learning in there. So then it just became this huge obsession. Like I became buried in books, audio books, that type of thing, and was kind of full out on the teaching, the psychology, the processes, the music theory. And that's just kind of the way as I say, my mind works. I'm really got to like break everything down and kind of get answers. And I've always had the innate ability to teach people to do things better than I can myself.
Interesting.
Always.
What do you put that down to?
Understanding people and being able to reach them on a level that some teachers can't. And it probably stems from my teachers failing me as a kid.
Mm.
Mm.
Okay.
Not getting that, what I needed, what I was looking for. And going back, I grew up in the middle of England, really, really rough place. It wasn't at the best school. Our school was actually so rough, it got shut down during the middle of me kind of going there. Me and my sister kind of had to depart.
Mm.
So at the time I was, really seeking out knowledge. I was just that guy that, I was actually one of the weird kids that the teacher would go around and say, to everyone, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I remember this, I can't remember what age I was, but everyone was like, fireman, policeman. I said, do you know what I said? I said, I want to be the youngest philosopher ever known in England.
That is brilliant.
I
Wow.
was obsessed with Socrates. I was obsessed with the Greek knowledge. And I actually still, one of my favorite things today is Stoicism. Like, I think it's coming back. I think, especially for young men that have kind of really lost their way, it's really making a movement back, what it really means to be kind of, be a man, really. So Stoicism is really the place to go. And then I took a holiday to Athens, and I was obsessed with the place and where democracy started and all that sort of thing. So yeah, that was kind of me. As I said, it wasn't it's a bit different, really.
Mate, I'm half tempted to dive down the path of man over the last 20 years and what that sort of looks like, but that could be the entire
Could be
podcast.
the
So
entire pod. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, mate, I'll hold that to get back again. We might bring that back in at
For
the end,
that,
I think.
easy.
And then what about you're not born in Switzerland, obviously, mate, but
Nope.
salsa. How good are you? We touched on it earlier. I got a mate of mine at work. He's trying to get me in. I got a dodgy knee, mate, from an old footy injury. So I'm afraid I would just crumble, I think, on the dance
So
floor.
yeah, look, it's tough. Every guy feels so like nervous if they've never danced before in a club, and you're like, oh my god, everyone's watching me. And I was actually doing my fruit picking regional work, which the UK lot have to do in Australia for to get their second year visa, then their third. It's like 3 months. So again, my story was just like going to these farms a few years ago, and I ended up living in Mooloolaba,
Mm,
which has a huge Latino scene. And yeah, I just wanted to be able to dance and not kind of feel like I had two left feet. And it all kind of came into play being a musician, having rhythm, and I actually grew up boxing, where if you know, you're actually moving on your left foot with weight quite a lot and your back foot kind of 70-30.
yeah.
So just doing the classes, it was just a fun time and did like 5 to 6 months of it. It was really good. Yeah. So I picked up some lessons. If I had to scale out of 10, I would give
Yeah.
myself a fair 6.
That's all right. That's a win. 100%.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
All right. So take us back to a little bit of an origin story, mate. You unpacked some of it just then.
Yeah, sorry, I apologize. So
Where
I'm
did it
from
begin?
a Scottish family. My mother moved down from Scotland. Met my dad, had myself. My dad's side's completely from Scotland, and so is my mum. So we're quite kind of patriotic in those roots. A lot of good kind of family values there. So yeah, they kind of moved down for the steelworks, and then we grew up in the middle of England. And as I said, it really wasn't the place for me. It wasn't the place for my mindset. So I actually broke free, kind of like moved and grew up in Brighton myself. So when I say grew up in Brighton, when I talked about uni, I mean from the years of basically 18 to 26, 27 before I moved to Australia. I mean, those are really pivotal years as your teens and growing up in kind of your 20s. So, I look back quite fondly now. My memories in Brighton, was definitely the place to be in the UK. Just kind of as a great city, really. So, yeah, Scottish roots. Grew up born in the middle of England, kind of in a really kind of rough area, let's just say, middle of England. To the left, people will know more Birmingham, the Peaky Blinders in the Midlands, those kind of areas. It's a bit cool now on Netflix. But yeah, so went to uni and grew up in Brighton, kind of solo and just and fell in love with the city, really.
You still play music?
I do. I sing on the weekends. It's something I actually stepped back from and kind of, you know, made a decision after COVID. I mean, as everyone knows, COVID, if there's one industry it ruined the most was musicians. Like I was in bars
Mm.
with glass beams in front of me when I was trying to sing and, you couldn't touch a microphone, gigs were getting cancelled and really felt for the musician. I was really thinking this other day and it kind of sounds wild, but you ever seen the film Slumdog Millionaire?
No, I've never seen it, mate.
Okay, for the people that have, is that he's growing up in India, kind of really in the slums, and then he goes on a lottery show, and he gets asked 10 questions and wins the lottery. But those 10 questions are because he went through each experience in his life. It's kind of like how my story goes. It's like, so everything comes from necessity in my life. I was a musician to get out of the town and then I was able to travel Europe and my music took me around the world and made me meet interesting people and open my mind even more from I wouldn't have got from the middle of England. And then through kind of voice injury and then COVID, I decided, well, look, this isn't going to be long lasting for me. I have to move to a career that is more kind of, liquidated in business and coaching. Okay, how can I do that? Right, what have I got? I literally went through this conversation with myself. I've got skills. What are they? Well, guitar. Well, that's not going to work anymore. What can I do? I can teach. Boom. Right. What can I do with that? I can teach people and coach people. Well, I really don't business. So what I've got to do, right? I've got to know business. I've got to know inside. I've got to know money. Where does it come from? When is it generated? How does it work? How does businesses work? Really went down that pole to get, again, my obsessive kind of mind was like, I'm going to be the best at it. I'm going to be good at it. And then started teaching people. And I really had the teaching skills already in the coaching. And all I
Mhm.
did was implement that to a new subject. And then still to this day, I'm able to implement different subjects. I'm able just to be very widespread and cross. So again, out of necessity, here we are.
Sounds like you have, and correct me when I'm wrong, Neil, but it sounds like you've got quite an instinctive or natural ability to break down, I guess, processes and have them, I guess, broken down to the core parts, and then present them in a way that's easily digestible for others.
Perfect. I love simplicity. I don't like complication. You're bang on the money. Let's simplify everything to make it work and make it easy. And the top people in business will tell you that.
Yeah. You
The
don't
thing,
need go on.
no, as I say, the things that if you watch the top, if people like Tony Robbins, who I absolutely adore, went out and interviewed the top like 1% billionaires and millionaires to see how their mind ticked and see how, like Warren Buffett, how they invested and how they worked. And you'd be very surprised in how their day goes. Like they wake up, like Richard Branson, they wake up, they do a few emails, they go back and they kind of do this. And everything is simplified and easy for them because they've arrived at such a level where they are doing the same thing over and over again to get great results, except the leverage is just different. So I think it blows people's minds, the same. So that's exactly what they do.
What does leverage mean for you?
Leverage is very important for me in the last
Yeah.
kind of few weeks. So look, like my situation is very different to let's say the average Australian due to I've had to do work for my visa. This is a country that I'm kind of settling down in. So I have to understand my position on a chessboard. Every single move I make, as you probably can figure out now, is very calculated in order how I can get to the next level with the most leverage. And I teach this in business as well in terms of selling. If I'm people just don't have that confidence in leverage and selling. So if I'm working a 40-hour week and I'm making X amount of money, then I'm kind of set in that goal. If I then sell something at a high ticket price and it only takes me 1 hour of my day, boom, there's a leverage. So you can look at kind of money and time in a leverage position where, okay, if I sell something for a lot of money in terms of a high ticket price, and I only do that a couple of hours a day, I'm making the same amount as I'm making my wage, or now I have my 40 hours back, which is absolutely paramount. John D. Rockefeller said, those who work all day have no time to make money. It's
I adore that.
That sits on me so much. He's completely right. Those who work all day have no time to make money. It's kind of people that schools have been not changed since the 60s, 50s, 40s, wherever it goes back to, because they create workers, not thinkers. Everyone is kind of programmed into this matrix to go to their 9 to 5, and it's fear-based. They're so scared, and I completely understand if you've got a family, you've got responsibilities, you've got cars to pay, you've got visas to pay. It's hard to take yourself out of that and go, I'm going to take risk. Now, again, we can look at leverage and risk in terms of age. I think it's incredible that the generation 16, 17-year-olds are making millions a month through drop shipping, but they're living in their parents' basement. They don't have rent.
Yes.
Whereas the guys are saying they're later 29, 30, they might have a kid and they don't have, I've got to work, I pay the bills. It's like, okay, well, you're my student now and you've paid for this hour with me as a business coach. Let me pick this apart and where can we get your leverage? Oh, well, I have none. No, you're not seeing it. If you have, okay, well, I'm working 9 to 5, I come home, I've got the gym, I've got to feed my kid, and the wife goes to work, I've got an hour. Okay, you've got an hour. What do you do in that hour? Oh, well, I chill out, watch Netflix. You haven't got the luxury anymore. That hour is now upskilling, it's learning, it's networking. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's how many days are in a week. You've got 7 hours. Boom, with time to leverage. Really squeeze it out of people that way, because people want to make the excuses and go, well, I can't go gym at 6 in the morning. I'm just too tired. Well, what time do you go to bed? So you got to find the leverage. And it really is, again, simple things done well.
I quite like your sort of journey up. You've touched on psychology, you've touched on stoicism, you had your musical background, which taught you the teaching. You're quite instinctive when it comes to breaking down processes, and I've known you for bloody half an hour, mate, but it all seems like it's all come together in a perfect world.
Hang on.
The world is far from perfect at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And you mentioned something, and what I mean by that is if you want to find an excuse, the world will give you plenty. It's what's that saying? It's something like a hard world creates hard men create an easy world create weak men, and weak men create a hard world.
Good times create
Thank you.
Weak men. Weak men create bad times. Bad times create great men. Great men create great times.
Yeah. What do you think we are? What do you think we are in that cycle?
In terms of myself or the society out there?
Let's go society, and then we'll come back to yourself, Neil.
I've had again a blessing to one to see the world, and I've traveled the world. Again, that was kind of before moving to Australia. It was a decision I made. I was like, look, I've got this year, and I'm going to just use savings and go travel the world, and I'm really going to experience it. And when I mean experience it, and I was sleeping in slums in Thailand and going through buses to the Vietnam border. I took a 20-hour bus from London to Amsterdam for £10. So I traveled.
Yeah,
Let's say, and I met
proper.
amazing people and stuff like that. So I've seen the journey through the entire world. 2 years ago, I lived in Canada, came back to Australia. So I know politics. I know the way different societies live. I know the different levels of money, and that's why I always say to people in Australia, like it is called the lucky land for a reason. There's such a high quality of living. But you're right, and you've hit it on the head there. Life has become brutal in a way that people cannot see. It's ruthless because people have created so many safe spaces.
Mm.
Safe spaces don't necessarily help people. And I don't want to get too deep into this because obviously, like, you can offend quite a lot of people these days. But diamonds are made under pressure. You need to go through that journey in order to, suffering is a gift. Suffering is a blessing.
Mm.
Sometimes not getting what you want is an incredible stroke of luck. That suffering has pushed me into a new direction of my life. And all of a sudden, look, I lost my voice, through COVID and all this sort of stuff, but now I'm in business. I'm making more money than I ever could. So in life, what's wrong is always available, but so is what's right. And you got to train your mind to find those kind of things. You may lose a parent, but at least you have one still alive. Those type of things that you've really got to find that. And I do believe, like I said, like kind of winding up the point without getting too wide, is that young people are really affected because they have no direction. They are on social media has ruined everything because it's comparison all day long. She looks great, he looks great, he's living his best life, but they're highlight reels. That's not real life. Life isn't margaritas and Mexico Beach. Like, relationships are tough. Relationships take work. Like, work's tough. Building a business is tough. Getting up and doing the gym 6 days a week, it's tough. And people don't really want to go through that kind of work anymore and put that work in and build their character and kind of hurt for a little bit and suffer. So one of my, I think, is a talent. I'm able to suffer for extended, long periods of time until I achieve what I want. And I know that's not in many people. And I know that's what makes me stand out for quite the rest, and why I seek for that in my business partners as well. So it is look, times are very tough. No one can afford a house. The cost of living is insane, but you have to constantly just adapt with that. Like my story, I've adapted, changed, adapt. What can I get good at? What can I do now? And I think people just kind of break down a little bit and go, well, that's it, that's over, because they have something to fall back on. One of my favorite quotes is actually from 50 Cent. He's a very intelligent man. What did he say? He said something like, what did he say? He's like, oh, I need someone to go to, but I had no one to go to. So he's like, so where am I going to go? Like, it's just
Mm.
me. I ain't got nowhere to go. There was no one to run to. And he says that, he says depression is a luxury that people can't afford. Because if you got to go to work and you're working 2 jobs to pay that kid, you ain't thinking about how depressed you are. You're doing the work. Do you know what I mean? So, like, you really look at these things and kind of change your mind and concept of how hard things can be. And look, I'm not getting anyone wrong. I'm in that age bracket. I'm 32, grew up through these times where there is a cost of living crisis. There is a housing crisis for people nowhere to live. People are getting forced to live with their parents till they're about 28, 29, 30. And think about what that's doing with their mental health. Like, are they able to bring a date home? Are they still doing their washing? So it's not creating the future of what we need. Yeah.
I'd never heard that quote, suffering is a gift. That's
That's actually my own.
I love that, mate. I love that a lot, actually. That really struck a chord.
Yeah.
Um, all right, so
From the writing days, from the music writing days,
yeah, nice.
to come
You
out.
got you got a favorite original?
Original song.
Yeah.
Yeah. We wrote a song that did quite well on YouTube, and we played about in Europe and stuff like that. It was great. Really high of life during that point, and just being like in that time, but like it's your art, it's your baby, and people are hearing this, and you really think you're going to kind of project to another level. But look, like those were the days, and it happened, and I'm thankful for it. Really, better
That's
days.
awesome.
Yeah, it's cold.
Better Days, is it?
Yeah.
And it's still on YouTube?
It is indeed. Yeah. You can see me 7 years ago with less facial hair.
Neil, I'm checking that out a little bit later this evening.
No worries.
How did you get into sales?
Again, through necessity. So when I came out of university, again, had the speech with the, no one's going to make it in music, and they were completely right. Oh, you're fine. You've just done this 3-year course. You're getting student loan paid for. You have no responsibility. You're getting your housing, your food paid for. In terms of uni, you come out and go, okay, boom, real life. Nothing hits harder than real life in the stomach, and it hurts. And I was 20, 21, so still living in Brighton, and I'm like, well, what do I do now? I'll go get a job, go get a job. Those sound fun. They look good with your hair and your musician and no life skills whatsoever. I actually fell into phone sales, which was selling phones, which, wow, if anyone's ever done that, that's just, selling phone contracts to people. And mine was a bit, if you watch some of those cheesy kind of, British kind of UK, taking the Little Britons and the phone jackers, that's what it's called, phone jack and things like that. And we'd have a sales meeting in the morning, and it'd be really snaky, and how are we going to get some commission out of this person today, and fake the phone call, like, oh look, I've only got one, have you got one left? We did all that, and it was a bit fun at the time, but that's a kind of an intro to sales that I had. It was actually quite fun. And then learn a bit about sales, obviously an intro to money and what you can make in terms as well. And that was probably the intro to me, is that as a salesperson, this is really something I think people don't really think about much in sales, is that I'm responsible for my income and no one else. Commission is a beautiful thing because I'm in charge of it, not you. You let me down. I don't have faith in the people anymore. You don't work the level of me. So commission is a beautiful thing to bring in for a salesperson, because you work at a certain level that they can't keep up or even, try to. And that's why there's top salespeople. So commission can be a beautiful thing.
What separates top salespeople to the rest?
Consistency, understanding the basics and going with it. There was actually a guy I watched, he was working on Wall Street, and besides the Wolf of Wall Street film, which is absolutely incredible, but this is real life, he got an internship, and he was like, I think he said he moved over from India or something. He didn't fit in at all, and no one was being nice to him. He was on the Wall Street on the phones. It was like the 70s. And he said he went to the top salesperson, and he said, he's like, obviously on the phones, being a broker. He was like, can I sit next to you and just listen? He said, I'll be over here. I won't bother you. He was like, I'm just going to listen, and you don't have to do a thing. And he went, yeah, all right then, cool. And he said he sat next to him for a month, 6 months, and then like a year or two, he was a top seller of that brokerage, because he said, I just implemented what the top seller was doing. So success leaves clues. We stand on the shoulders of giants. Let's understand that we can take something that's working and maybe onboard it and do it better. There's nothing wrong with that. That's not stealing. Yeah. Good artists copy, great artists steal.
I like that a lot.
So I'm going to be whipping out all the quotes today.
Brilliant. I'm a big fan of quotes. There's a t-shirt there, Neil, surely.
There you go. So yeah, look, like, it's the same thing. I think we can, as a salesperson, I've really integrated my kind of being an artist into a salesperson, into being a coach. It's like, well, I don't get too set on, what makes me and special? Well, no, it's sales. Like, a business at the end of the day is money in. It's not money out. Like, how are we going to get money in? And how am I going to do that? Okay, I've got to be good at talking on the phones. And let's jump onto that point really quickly, is that we talked about this generation is kind of getting lost. They aren't building any social skills anymore. Like, there's dating apps. You can get a date, just order one round. There's Uber Eats. You don't have to go out for your food anymore. There's no social interactions. People are glued to their phone and their iPad. People can't, I notice this in business quite a lot. I'm big on standing up, shaking their hand and looking them in the eye. If their eye contact breaks, I know they're not steady for it. They're not ready for it. I work at such a level. I need to be at such a level. I keep my mind and everything at such a level that I need that back. And I can, again, with the psychology, and I can just see that through people. People can't look you in the eye anymore. People don't stand up. They don't have a firm handshake. So the skills that myself and my business partners have, which we talk about, and we have weekly meetings, we talk about this. It's like, how are we going to go basically run over 80% of people? Because 80% of people are distracted. They are distracted. They're at the beach, they're partying with their friends, that they're doing short-term pleasure and not looking at the long-term sacrifice. So we are good at cold calling. Cold calling is king, queen, whatever you want to call it. King and queen. It's 2024. It's cold calling is king. If you can create relationships with people on phone and close them and talk well and have good communication, you will never go broke. If you're a computer wizard and you send 1,000 emails, you might get one sale, you might get a reply. Nowhere near the level of business that you can create if you are good at communication, talking, cold calling on the phone, meeting clients face to face. People buy from people, not computers.
Mm-hmm. I really, it's funny. I think it was a gentleman, you may have seen him online. His name escapes him, but his brand is UK's most hated sales trainer.
Okay.
And one of the things he says is, no one picks sales, like everyone falls into sales.
Yeah.
And then people sort of fall in love with the craft and it becomes a career for some. I guess I'm curious, Neil, how have you seen the sales, whether it's the sales industry and whether it's different markets, or I guess sales as a whole, how have you seen that change or develop over the last 5 to 10 years? If at all.
Incredible changes in the last few years due to the pace. I talk about speed and pace as a large thing. People can start a business and go, oh, well, we've all met the people that go, I've got a business idea and I'm getting a logo together and, Brittany's doing the website, like it'll be live. You go back to them and go like, oh, how's your business going? A year later, oh yeah, I'm still, nah, man. First day, boom, products out, let's get money in. So the pace of it is unreal. And what we have is the internet, which has given us a worldwide market. And like I said, knowledge is available to everyone. So 16 and 17-year-olds are making $1 million a year, more than their parents. So not only do you have your competition in your field, you're competing with that. And this is where all the social media stuff can be quite, comparison and make us all feel kind of depressed because you're like, well, I'm going to work to 9 to 5 and I'm seeing this every day. He's got a Lamborghini and he's 17 years old in Miami. So how's that working? So then we've got the movement of AI and it's coming in fast. And we saw this a long time ago. I like to be on top of the trends and what's going to happen. And we have weekly meetings with our business. What is AI going to do to us? But how can we make money off of it? What's going to happen? How can we make money off of it? How can we change? How can we trend? Those type of things. It's moving it. I say this to business clients that I have, and I'll start with one of my quotes again. If you're not online in 2024, you will be left behind. And we're talking to finance sectors, and they might be, 50, 60-year-old, 70-year-old, and they're not great with computers, which is why they need our services. There is a market for it, but they don't understand. They're not in that generation where you can do something, but there's going to be someone running ads, spending $1,000 a month, going the extra level that's just going to take you out. So how do you compete? Everyone runs ads these days. Everyone has a personal brand. Everyone's blowing up their TikTok. So the pace and the movement, and I think it's quite interesting if you look at the history of apps, and actually a lot of them came in recessions. So Uber came in a recession because they didn't hire any cars. Airbnb came in recession, they didn't own any houses. And everything else. So all these apps and Instagram and everything, only 5 or 6, 7 years old, some of them, and they've changed the way we live. So look at the pace. It's happening so fast. Get on board, see where you can go with it. And my prediction for 2024 is that the big thing in 2024 is going to be communities. Because you can't sell that. As in you can't manufacture it in an app and a product and sell it. So people are going to create communities through, take a note, people, Telegram, Discord. I've noticed some big players go all of a sudden, if you looked at their stories, go, join my Telegram, join my email list. Have you seen that lately?
Yes.
Why are they doing that? They're creating a community. Why else? The back end. People are getting cancelled. Kanye West's Apple Pay got taken away from him and he couldn't even use his bank account. People have been banned on Twitter and Instagram, which may be their income and the way they live. So people are getting smart and creating a network of their own where they will always have a monetized audience and income. It's the next step. So, I've created a Discord this year with my business partner. We've created an amazing network. It's a free Discord, but we've got people from South Africa, America, England, Australia, And we get together every day, and in there we talk business ideas. Oh, I was on the phone to this person and I didn't close them. What would you guys do differently? And it's an uplifting place, to be in, and to have, you know, coaches in there with experience like myself and my business partner that I didn't have 5, 10 years ago, and that's free. So we're building a community. We're building that community again. Ahead of the trend is where we really stay. So yeah, that's my prediction for 2024. It's communities, and an app will come out with it, whether it be something off of Discord, Telegram, and create something. I don't know what it'll be.
The pace of technology is bloody wild at the moment. You got Chat GPT doing all sorts. People are whispering about VR. I think VR is a little bit a while off yet, but who bloody knows? Before we dive down that, Neil, you said that quite humbly, mate. Let's slow down and explore. Tell me more about your Discord.
Yeah. So as I said, I do have a business partner, Hayden, which you've actually had on the show previous.
I have, yeah.
So
Great guy.
Great guy. And look, I know people well, and I look for that kind of psychology. And Hayden will tell you this story. I'll tell him, and I don't think he believes me. He's the only dude I've DM'd, the only guy, the only guy I've reached out to on TikTok, because I saw a video and I saw something in him I've never seen before. I was like, and he does, and I tell him this all the time. I was like, dude, like, you talk in such a human way that puts people's sales guard down, but they trust you at the same time. And I was like, I don't think you know what you've got. Like, let me take that for you and push you in a little way to get some money in. I know, but he's obviously a great guy. But and to this day, I was completely 100% right. He started TikTok and his video got 1 million views. So he's absolutely killing it. But look, every credit to himself. But he does to this day have a sales style that I've never seen. And we're kind of yin and yang. We're kind of Robert. We're kind of John and Paul. He's the the agreeable kind of side. I'm the more kind of assertive, relentless side of sales. And I think you need both. Because it bounces off great. He's kind of like, oh, I didn't close him today. Can you jump on? Right, I'll jump on. Okay, so how's it go? What's happening then? No, but sorry, with the Discord, we built a Discord, and in it, we just wanted to create that community that I was on about. I have a sales mastery section. He has an agency MMA section. We have a crypto. We have a stock section. We have weekly giveaways. We have coaching calls. Just trying to make it as active as possible. Really growing well into a network that we want to take into 2024 to be quite a large thing. Just to network. People are finding opportunities in there. They're finding jobs. So yeah, great.
How do people? We'll put this in the notes as well, Neil. But how do people find your Discord?
So I will send you the link, but you can also search Digital Go Getters, 3 separate words, Digital Go Getters, and I will give you the link to put into the podcast as well. But yeah, great. Hey, look, guys, as I said, it's free to join. You can learn some things for free if you want. Sit in the background and do nothing, say nothing, but all the content's there. I've actually put together a 5-part sales course myself. Something I just wanted to, and I'm actually doing videos along with the PDFs, and that's completely free. You can download that, and that is an introduction to sales, takes you through a little bit of the psychology and made it a little bit fun. I like to make things a little bit funny, and just trying to break down that kind of boring sales aspect when you can have fun with it. End of the day, it's money. It makes you money. So let's have fun with it.
I love that. I'm always interested in people's relationship with cold calling. Mm-hmm. It seems to be a bit polarizing. I'm in Neil McMillan's camp of thinking it's one of the most important parts of business, even in and especially in 2024. Mm-hmm. What do you think people are hesitant about picking up the phone?
Rejection. It is a mirror of themselves that they feel they aren't good enough and they're getting rejected. When someone says, no, thank you, when they're in a rush, they go, oh, well, what did I do wrong? Is it me? Was it my tone? Self-reflection just goes on a 360, it just boils off. And if you don't have those, psychological kind of strengths in place, then it's brutal. And I always talk about when I do kind of cold calling masterclasses, I'm like, understand there are 7 billion different lives going on at a stream and a pace, and you are calling this person up who has no idea who you are, and you have to grab their attention in 4 seconds. 4 seconds is what you have.
Yeah.
So it is that important to not let that, everything has to be correct. The tone, the pace, the things you say, your intro, how, everything has to come together perfectly to catch them. And I've caught people driving and I'm like, well, we're going to go down together and we're going to crash, but hey, I'm going to get this sale in. So like, this is what I've got to say. And you've got to be intriguing to kind of get on, but yeah, you're completely, that's exactly it. It's rejection. Unfortunately, guys are better than that than girls, as we know, kind of going up to girls all the time. So rejection is, been part of, we're used to that from a very young age.
Yeah.
So yeah, cold calling for kind of just over the head. Like, as I say, I've got to a place through, what's the word I'm looking for? Through experience of just being relentless. It completely goes over my head. I've had some wild things said to me, screamed at me, this and that. It does not bother me the slightest. I'm not one of those that gets bothered by comments. I'm building a personal brand at the moment. I've had some comments on TikTok. I promise you, it does not faze me at all. Like, I do not lose sleep. I sleep like a baby. That's just the way I'm built. As I say, coming up from the middle of England, if I can talk, going through kind of tough times, grew up in boxing gyms and, some seeing some things. So yeah, words do not hurt me like at all. And I'm kind of built that way. And again, we go back to, I think this is why the younger generation needs to have that kind of toughened up a little bit, for real problems to happen in order to see what isn't a problem. People can break down at the slightest little thing, and I've seen it, and I'm like, man, I don't think you know what a problem is. I don't think you know. That ain't a problem, and you're going to struggle. And I kind of want to help them out because to them, it's their entire world, it's their reality. They're living, so it is hard for them. But and I will say this only once. I won't say it again. I am empathetic. I do get it from my mother. I'm relentless but empathetic, and I kind of see that as maybe a weakness or a strength, is that when I see someone struggling, I want to help them. I want to be like, look, like, I'm going to help you out here. Like, you look like you're really struggling. Happened last night. There's someone on TikTok crying with a video. I reached out to them. I was like, look, DM me. Yeah. I know what can help. So that is in me as well. So I think it's perfect to have that balance. But yeah.
I love that. So what do you see, Neil, when you're coaching people specifically in sales? Are there any consistencies, if not consistencies, maybe common areas that people typically struggle with as to the main reason they're reaching out to yourself for help or support?
Yeah. And this goes back 10 years ago to my teaching guitar days, from someone, young people just kind of coming in and wanting to vent about their lives and not even wanting to learn an instrument, so kind of the psychology days. So I feel that through the work that I'm doing and through time, I want to be recognized as, just one of the greats, one of those coaches, up at that Tony Robbins level, because that man is just as you know, is the 1%. He's just it's an aberration, So for me, it's like, I can have a session, figure out what's going wrong, and look at kind of their life, and it can be a little bit of life and business coaching as well as the sales stuff, because if that stuff isn't there, then that stuff's not going to be there. And the biggest thing, and I had this on a podcast the other week, and I said it, and it's one of the clips, and I said, if someone books a business coaching call with me, do you know what the first question I ask them is? And he goes, what? And I say, tell me your dream life from start to finish. And do you know what happens? 80% of people cannot tell me. And I'm saying, do you know how sad that is? Is that they cannot tell me their dream life. You know why? Because they haven't ever thought of it. I'm saying, here's a genie. Tell me everything from start to finish. You can have anything you want. And can you believe people, even if it's playful, they can't tell me. I'm like, tell me, would you want a red sports car? Like, do you want a red dress? Do you want a Hawaii? What do you want? And I'm like, there's the problem. You don't even have an end goal. You don't even know where you're going. You're in this rat race that you're able just to do every day because you're just in this cycle, but you don't even know what your dream life is. You don't even know what your dream goal is. So let's start getting a bit, selfish for us and myself and personal within, if you want to go there, and be like, I'm working for this to get here. Where's here? Hey, tell me where here is first, and I'll tell you to draw the lines how to get there. It's really interesting. And I start with that because I'm big, on psychology, because it makes them think, and they're like, Jesus, like, no one's ever asked me that.
Yes.
Now I have. So I saw those things, and then a second massive one for me is scheduling. Is is basically daily tasks. I promise you, has been taught to me in every profession and career in a different way, but it's so ultimate, and I can tell you a few reasons why. We go
Yeah.
back again to what I said. If you have an hour in the day, what are you doing? If you have 2 hours in the day, 3 hours in the day, I used to kind of wing it. Like we're all kind of human, we all do that. We wake up and we go to work, and might go to the gym. Got half an hour. Go to the gym, come back, and go. Oh well, yeah, I really like this Netflix shit. And then you're like, oh man, I've got to make stuff food, and then you're like, oh my god, it's 8 o'clock. Like, where's the day gone? I'm doing this 6 times, 6, 7 times a week. So I'm saying, look, let's start small. If you have a spare hour, what are we doing in that hour? Split it up. Like we understanding that human beings aren't really meant to work for 6, 8 hours in a row, and you probably won't get be most productive in that time as well. It's short bursts, but it's being specific about your time. So the first hour, split into 30 minutes. First 30 minutes, I'm going to upskill. I'm going to have a look at cold calling, and I'm going to see how I can improve on the phones. I'm going to I make people do this. I put camera up, and I'm going to film myself. Why? Oh no, I'll cringe. Good. I want you to be your biggest number one fan. Cringe. Film yourself. Look at how you're talking. Look at how you're slouching. Your body is your energy. Okay, next 30 minutes, after you've upskilled, outreach, pure outreach. 1 call, 2 calls, 3 calls, 4 calls, 5 calls, 100 calls in that 30 minutes if you must. There's your hour. Well, it seems pretty short. How am I going to do that? If you've done that 7 times a week, that's 7 hours you've just done, and that's 7 hours more than the person that isn't doing that. See what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's where we start and how we do it.
What's your favorite, personally? What's your favorite part of the sales process?
Most would say the closing them at the end, but mine's actually the qualifying part, because I'm a bit like that. I'm a bit kind of, okay, let's challenge me. Let's go. What have you got? And so the qualifying part. So we have the intro. It's formalities, building that rapport. Then there's the qualifying part. Now the qualifying part is the psychology. It's kind of like, someone walks into a retail store and they want to, are you looking to buy anything today? What are they going to say? No. Every time. But they've walked in the shop. They've got to be there for they're not here to buy a sink. So it's that qualifying part where they're kind of telling you, oh well, I was thinking about looking for a loan. I'm just looking around and this and that. Oh yeah, really cool. Okay. Do you know a budget? Like, all these things, and you start asking these questions in a bit. And I remember everything. So at the end of the sale, they'll go, oh well, I just don't have the budget at the moment. Hold on. About 5 minutes ago, you just said you have $3,000 for the budget. You were looking around, and then you start to, press it again. Things like that. So yeah, I think the qualifying stage.
Yep. Okay. What's a common misconception that people have about sales or salespeople that comes to mind?
That they're sleazy, that you can't trust them, and it's all suits, coffee elbow pads, working long hours to get that kind of thing. No, not at all. Look, at sales is the most interesting thing happening in the last year due to monetization of skills online. Let me explain. A girl that might have 200, 300,000 followers on Instagram, you better believe she's monetizing her income through that following. She will have, or he will have, a stand store or a link tree that will have book 10 minutes with me or buy my ebook. That's sales. She's selling that ebook at $7.99. She has 300,000 followers on Instagram. Do the math. She is monetizing that to such a degree. It doesn't, make one product and it's just unlimited money coming in. So we have that level of sales going on. We have the sales of the skills that are going on, which are just incredible at the moment. As I say, the young people are doing, and anyone above. Amazon dropshipping, dropshipping in general, crypto, selling their services in copywriting. And then that's the middle part. And then we have the corporate selling, which we know is the 9 to 5, the phones, the cold calling. So again, it's been a huge journey over the last few years in what sales has become and how you can monetize.
If you had some, let's paint the scene. Someone's just come out of school, high school. they're not in England, unfortunately. So there's no gap year. There's not much of a culture thing here. Big fan of it, but let's say
Tough place.
they've yeah they they've fallen into sales. Maybe something like Harvey Norman,
Yeah.
say retail sales floor. And they want to succeed. They don't know where this is going to end. They just want to be successful to whatever that looks like.
Yep.
Where should they begin? They're really keen to look at some external sort of type learning. We've obviously got Google and YouTube, two biggest search engines, and all the kids are going to be there. So, what would your recommendations be? Where's a good place for them to start?
I don't think there's anything better that can teach you about life from a book than life itself. Like, you need that in-person experience. I had a sales job that I hated because I had to I had a headset, and it was a bit like the pursuit of happiness. It was phone up, phone down, phone up, phone down, boom, 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 like just get them in. But that just, 10,000 hours of your craft will make you a perfectionist or a true master at it. Like, him being on the Harvey Norman floor is great if he's like, say, 17, 18, coming out of school. He's talking to people all day long. He's trying to grab their attention. You have to go up to them, behind them if they're looking at TV, and kind of gauge how that person is feeling, if you want to come up to them or not. You're getting interpersonal, real life communication skills. We build them anyway in society through school and work and, socialism and that kind of thing. But that's on the floor experience. And then you're taking the person to the cashier, and you're doing the sale, and you're taking that money, and then you're thinking, oh, I get 10% commission of that. So it's perfect experience. You can read about it all you want in a book. You can watch as many YouTube and channels if you want. If I put you out on that floor, who's that person? Is it Brad? Grant Cardone had a show in America, and it was something like, I can't remember the name. I've been watching it all week. Impressed me, and he goes, "Sell me this water," in their interview, right? And no one's prepared. So actually, he does this. He casts two questions. He says, you can sell yourself, or you can sell the water in the interview. And he says, pick one. And they always go, sell myself. So he always picks the opposite one and goes, sell me this water. Love that. The one they weren't expecting. And they go, oh, this is good water. It's from I don't drink water. And all this. And so he hits them on the spot, because he's like, if I'm going to hire you for my company, I need to see you under pressure. And I love that. So same thing. You have to understand, if you want to get to a level of success and to an echelon level, that, a pedestal, you have to surround yourself with the people that are successful. You have to get amongst that network, and you have to learn from those people. So it's about I've learned so many things from just being in kind of different rooms and different circles. So your network is your net worth, always will be.
Someone that's so systems driven.
Yes. I never sleep. Can you imagine?
What does time management mean for yourself? And is that something that came naturally out the gate?
Yeah, like I said, look, I'm quite a systematic person in terms of I used to practice guitar 8 hours a day. I'm really relentless on my training. So all my food has to be, nutrition has to be in order. My gym days, my rest recovery days, as well as my, business days. So everything just has to be in order. Otherwise, everything just falls like a domino effect. I'm unfortunately 100% or nothing. I really am. I know as a human being, I've had those days where it's just been all day on the couch. We've all done it and be like, well, nothing's getting done today. And the next day you're like, man, I just wasted that entire day. So I am 100% on nothing. So it's kind of like my schedule has to fit, with the business stuff, with the gym stuff, with the growth stuff, with the networking stuff, everything just has to be in order just to have a week. I think my normal week would crush most people. I think it really would, due to, I do work a job, and then at 5 p.m. I come home, put the laptop up, and then it's business till maybe 9 p.m. There's a gym session in between there. I've given up a lot of weekends over the last 8 months in terms of being just social and fun, like just because I know where this is going. So there's a lot of isolation. And to put it perfectly is that once you start to want more for yourself and better yourself and upskill, you don't realize that you don't really fit in with the circle of group of friends that you're with in the moment. And they go, you've changed. They'll never say you've grown. And then all of a sudden you come out in the middle, and then you're still not at that level where you want to be with the people that are at the top. So you're kind of in this limbo place, and that's a very lonely place. But let me tell you, it's the right place to be. So you've outgrown the old people, but you're still not quite there with the new people. So what are you going to do? You're going to go that way, you're going to go back that way. This is the lonely part. This is where your head has to go, get down and do the work. The work has to be done. Don't depend on anyone else. It's you, your schedule, get the tasks done. You can come out of the middle place and join the others.
Alex Hormozy speaks a lot about seasons of life,
Yes, love him.
And he points to a lot of seasons of no for himself, and it sounds like a season of no for yourself as far as giving up the weekends or that sort of stuff. I had a question, but you just said you love Alex Hormozy, so let's dive into that for a moment. What's
influence for me?
Cool. All right, mate. Well, let's jump onto there, Neil. Alex Hormozy. Who else are you into? Who are some of your influences at the moment?
Well, for sure, as I say, I actually put that at the top of my chart as Alex Hormozy, just due to the amount of, man, when that guy gets going, he can talk for 6 hours. He's relentless, but he's so precise in what he says. And all he is about taking action at the one thing. And he says, oh, I had a gym business and I had this and I had this and I had 3 cups of water and I was pouring water into it and that cup was never full. And that was a huge lesson for me, which was like, pick one cup, fill it with water first. Like, let's get something going. Let's put all your time and effort. Imagine how full that cup would be rather than doing little things. And I was doing all these little things. Like, I'm into trading. I'm into, the gym. I'm into the Discord and this and that. And I was like, I think I actually said this to my business partner yesterday. I was like, something has to go. He was like, what do you mean you've been doing this? And I was like, it has to go. I was like, that 1 hour that I'm doing for that, it's gone. Like, I need it. I need it back because it go into something else. And I was like, I saw the 3 cups of water and I'm like, the 3rd cup's now gone. I've got 2. I have to do 2. I can't get rid of the other one. So Alex Hormozy has been a huge thing for me. Second one, Jordan Peterson is a huge kind of influence for myself. Again, we're going back to kind of all the topics and issues in today's society, but just a brilliant man, just psychology, how to get things in order, the way to think. I mean, he's buried himself in the quest for knowledge for all of his life, and no one can kind of challenge him at his level. And it's not about being kind of challenged or at his level. It's just that he's something we need in 2024. People need to hear it. It's just exact truths, and it's the right type of psychology, and it's about relationships, and it's about how you should see yourself, and it's completely needed. So unsales related, but Jordan Peterson.
It's quite interesting. I saw a clip, and it was of I'm not sure of the podcast, but it was a couple of young American women, and one of them quoted Jordan Peterson, and I found it fascinating because you could see her visibly hesitate, and she didn't really know how to put it forward. Mm-hmm. So she simply said, a Canadian psychologist said this, and then said the Jordan Peterson quote, and you could see it, and I really felt for her in that moment because you could tell she didn't know what to do. Mm-hmm. And I thought it was a really interesting insight into maybe human psychology. Neil, you'd know a lot more about this than myself, but it's almost like 90% of what someone says can be bang on the mark, right? If that 10%, for whatever reason, goes against what society wants, then it's almost like the vehicle becomes tainted, and therefore any other messaging from the vehicle is dismissed, which I think is an absolute shame.
Mm-hmm. What you're getting is people lost. People are lost. They don't have that direction they once had, because you're right. They are afraid of being judged. They are a fear of not fitting in, and a fear of what they could lose. And let me tell you, the stakes are high. I personally have to tiptoe on certain things I say and my beliefs, even though they, as you can see, my values, beliefs are very, very strong, and I will fight them to the end. But there comes a day you have to win the battle, not the war. In terms of that, of what you could lose just because of what you say. And people are getting cancelled at an elite level, like Kanye West and stuff like that. Imagine when you have millions and you're getting that rep. So what's it to the normal working class person? You would be pulverized. So I
Hmm.
understand from that sense, but I have come to a place this year, 30 days in, 36 days of 2024, this year, new me. No, but I have come to the place where I say what I mean. I understand who I am, my values, what I mean, and I say it with intent. And that comes with consequences, and I have had consequences from what I say. It's nothing bad, of course. It's just that people don't agree with it. And I am very, headstrong and kind of assertive in that way, and it can be a problem because people don't deal with like me anymore. So it is a problem for people, and people want to be really passive and it's okay, and like, I'm sorry, that type of thing, and it's just not how I go. So I do struggle with that type of thing, but it is what it is.
I like the word intent with that though, Neil. I
Mhm.
think if people gave more weighting to the actual intent
Mhm.
of people, then when feathers are ruffled for any number of reasons, if they simply look at what were they trying to do, and what is it in me
Mhm.
that was triggered and why? I mean, that's an interesting journey straight away.
I think, yeah, people don't really understand the language anymore, and they're being brainwashed by the media to throw out these certain words and call people this and that, and then you ask them the meaning of it, they can't even give you an explanation. So they don't know their intent. They're just being filled with hate and an agenda towards certain things, which is just completely wrong. And then you kind of find they're quite shallow in themselves, where they don't have that sense of belief, and they are lost, and they do need that help, and that's what you need to kind of see. I think at that higher level, you can start to see that people that are throwing those stones in glass houses are the ones hurting the most, or just want to fit in, or they're saying this because they've had a past experience. I don't know what it is,
Mm.
but as I said, for me, it's like I'll say it now and let the consequences roll. Like I said, it's nothing bad, but I'm strong in as I say, with my intent beliefs, and kind of like, this is the way I am, and this is the way it'll be, and that's that. And you can get on this. I don't fear being in that 1% lonely zone. I I was born in it, molded by it. I'll live here. I'll live here for 5 years to get done what I need to do, and that's my friends know that, and they'll see that. They're like, "Oh my god, like, Neil, you will literally go to the ends of the earth." And it's not to prove a point; it's to become something. It's to achieve myself. It's to become the man I know I am, and that's what I love about working out. And there's some salespeople like Grant Cardone that don't do business with fat people. And that's a really horrible thing to say, but because if you work out, you're showing your body that you are disciplined, that you can control, and all these different things, and it speaks volumes. So if I feel I am the man I want to be, but I'm not there yet, then I have to do the work that's required, because I'm feeling a certain way inside about myself, but it's not showing yet. I don't have that status yet. So the work must be done. So that's where it comes from myself. And it's belief. People, I don't see anyone with the level of self belief that, say, I may have. And it may stem from being a musician, from singing to thousands of people on stage, and you having to have that little bit of confidence and blah, blah, blah. But people just don't have the self belief. They don't believe in themselves anymore. You can do it. Well, what do you want to do? What do you want to achieve? Oh, I couldn't do that. No, that's not, no, I just couldn't. You haven't even tried. And then people actually go on spending their life and doing a job they may hate, and getting into a relationship they might not, be for them, and it end up kind of not working out, and thought, well, I should have gone for it anyway. What is there to lose?
Hmm.
Mm.
Regret is one thing that I certainly want no part of in my later years. So that's always in the back of my head.
Yeah.
Take the shot.
Yep. Take it. Never know. Again, it's taking me to some wonderful places and things, so can't complain.
Mate, what's you've had plenty of wins in so many different areas of your life already, right? So, what do you consider? Do you have maybe a biggest win in your career so far, or maybe there's a couple?
Um, the biggest win, I suppose, it is like we just said there, is going out, taking that shot on my own, understanding that I can do this and create a business with just one or two other people, make it happen, make it work, and then it actually working. I think that's a huge win. It's kind of like that day you realize that you don't have to depend on a salary, and then you make money yourself. is the day it all changes. Day it all changes.
Yeah. Okay. And then what about the flip side of that, Neil? Before we answer that, this is such an interesting idea or concept, so simple, but and maybe this ties into confidence as you just touched on. So the idea and the framings around whether you want to call them losses, whether you want to call them lessons, whether you want to call them uh, gross insights. I'm not sure. So you sort of touched on it a little bit earlier. Why don't we take the question a different way? Because it just sort of hit me, my brain does this. So what advice would you have? Let's speak to the young man because I wanted to touch on sort of stoicism a little bit and pick your brain. What advice would you have for young men coming through in 2024?
I think there can be no strong mind without a strong body to begin with. Health is pivotal. That connection that science has proven over and over again with the body and mind, you need to have that health aspect in shape. You need to have all that down in order for this to kind of thrive. That's the first and most step, which I've always taken care of in 10, 15 years now in gyms and training and stuff like that. Like, you don't have to be Arnold Schwarzenegger, but you have to, and for a young man, it's great to find that discipline, because a lot of young men do go into the gym and find that obsession with the gym and training, and that's great because you've got the discipline now. I've got to make all my meals, I've got to do this, I've got to do that. So that's the first thing. Another thing is just to, be a beacon of knowledge. Seek out knowledge in terms of, like, say stoicism, say philosophy. Understand your mind a little bit. I think what girls don't get with men growing up is that we deal with a lot of aggression. We deal with a lot of these hormones that don't make sense. And there's nowhere for, I grew up boxing, so there's nowhere for like a man to really do that. And it can be confusing. And it can be like, well, what am I doing? So understanding your emotions. The thing I love about stoicism is that people can say that stoicism, oh, you're quite cold. It's like, well, no, I control my emotions. Never act emotionally is what I say. How many times have you acted emotionally, said something out of line and gone, I shouldn't have said that, I regret that. Yeah. There's nothing more powerful than something happening and a man sitting back, taking his time, taking a breath, everyone leaning in, going, gee, what's this guy going to say? And then saying something calmly and smoothly. That's the guy that most people fear because he can control his emotions. So be stoic, take these things on board, take your health, and fitness really seriously, and then have a goal, have a passion, all those things. I don't necessarily as well, but this is going to be so contradictory coming from me. I don't think you should chase a life of passion. I don't, after being a musician for so many years. Because look at me, look at my story. If I chased passion, I would be a 40-year-old guitar player, going on to a 50-year-old guitar player. But again, from my mind, that works. It's like, well, how am I going to build a legacy? How am I going to have 4 properties? How am I going to take care of my wife and kids? How am I going to retire my father? How am I going to do all these things? It just ain't going to do it for me anymore. So that's where I changed. If I was emotional and followed my passion, I wouldn't be in the position I am in now. So I've really learned, trust me, learned to deal. I can turn my emotions off. I am actually one of those people that can do that. And I can sit because I've had so many things happen, and I can sit there and think and go, this is what I'm acting emotionally towards this, but what's the right answer? And I can take my time. That's a skill I've developed only in the last year, and that's taking a long time. So I never act emotionally. See my life on a chessboard. What's the best move for me and my life? What will I do if I move here? So as a young man, yeah, all those things, stoicism, health and fitness, upskilling yourself, finding a skill that will, take care of you and what you can build on. What are you good at? Find things, what skills I can do. They're very little things, copywriting, talking, cold emailing. People go around doors selling solar panels, handing out flyers. But the list is endless. People talk to me and they're like, well, what can I do? I hit them with that list. Pick one. Just do it. Go, do, make action. It's crazy. We've got people in the Discord, I think 16, 17 is when our youngest one. And he's like, closed a $2,000 client yesterday. And I'm like, Jesus, you know what I mean? You know, like,
Yep.
wow. It was like, oh, guys, yeah, thank great. You know, thanks for you guys. I was like, yeah, man, great. Like, glad you got the information. But the biggest thing you did was went out and did what I gave him a list: 50 cold calls a day, 10 cold DMs, scalp out 5 different clients, and then keep in contact with them. Maybe go in and visit one of them because and then he did that kind of. I think it was only 2 weeks. And he got his first client because he's doing steps that I promise you, 90% of people out there doing. They're behind their computer and their emailers and their texters. They all live behind their screen. They can promise you the world. And then when a businessman's, got quite a bit of money and goes, oh, I want to buy this, and go, hello, hello. And then it's like, well, I ain't buying from that. You're gone. This guy's got in. And look, 16, 17, all the balls in the world. Amazing. $2,000 client. Confidence breeds success. He's closed that first client. Second's going to be easier. Third's going to be easier. Boom, boom, boom. 10 clients a month, 20, 30K a month to himself. Due to what? The skills he learned for free in a Discord. The advice he got from someone that might be 20 years of his time with all that experience. So that's how important being in the right place is. That's how important your network is. That's how important mentors are. I understood the importance of mentors because of growing up being a musician and guitar player. Like, you need the coach. You need that. You can't go to that next level, without the coach. That's always been embedded in me as a young, we take lessons and different multiple teachers. Oh, like, I'm learning this from him, but he teaches this better, and boom, boom, boom. Like, I've just taken that to business. Like, what can I learn? Oh, did you know, like, to monetize I'm learning something here. I'm going to learn from, and I'm going to take this in. 2 ears, one mouth for a reason.
You brought up, actually, there's two parts here. Your mate, Hormozy, says,
I wish.
Yeah, says something to the effect of he wants to collect the lessons without the scars.
Mm-hmm.
And so that ties into the idea of insights, education, whether they find that through books, some people autobiographies, whatever else, mentors that you just brought up. I'm really intrigued by the idea of mentors, Neil. Talk to me about mentors in your life in whatever realm you want to take that.
Yeah, again, look, like there's been many through necessity in different careers and different places of, a mentor can even be from a girlfriend, from a partner. A mentor could be, from my dad's a very intelligent man, brought me up a certain way from a young age. And I really feel like I ask anyone around me, I've spoken this way since I was 16 years old. Like, nothing much has changed. Like, my mind has kind of been pushed that way. So, and then through business and coaches, mentors, we are blessed with social media. Our generation from now to our parents, the advantages and disadvantages we have is unparalleled, because I can download our Alex Hormozy podcast. I can download an Tony Robbins. The two big ones for me, Tony Robbins just changed my life upside down. I got obsessed with his audiobooks, the way he spoke, the way he commanded language and made people change their interruption, their patterns, how to change habits. All of that I was obsessed with for a good long time. So I would just definitely say online mentors and coaches like that. Tony Robbins was a big one for me. Alex Hormozy, that type of people, parents, and then people that don't mean to be mentors, but teachers and coaches we might have had, and along the way, and friends that you learn from, and then maybe paying for one along the way. So there's been many for me. I like to be an open book with that type of thing. Again, I'm very open-minded. I want to incorporate things and lessons to make myself better. And if I can do that. This is what I say to people as well. They're too proud. If a 16-year-old is making 500K a year from dropshipping, you better sit down and listen to what he's doing, because he might know something that you don't with your 50K a year job, 60K a year job, because bro's making 500K a year. So, hey, bro, here's a Panda Pop. Sit down and tell me what you're doing. I'm listening. Yeah. So, I mean, it's all around us. People are too proud in that sense. If someone's, I can't take advice from certain people. I just can't do it anymore. If a doctor comes on and talks about health and is in a big white lab coat and he's absolutely huge in the belly, I'm like, why am I listening to this guy? He can't even take himself to the gym. We take uni as a scam. You go to uni and you take business, and the guy rolls up in a broken down Hyundai and, doesn't this guy's teaching business. He doesn't even have a business. He doesn't know business. He knows how to teach a book. It's just insane
Mhm.
to me. People are learning from it's the wrong mentors, and it can take you down a wrong path in the way you can think. My
Yep.
thinking was ruined in a certain way. I had to after uni, and I had to change it back, and I did that with the incredible people that we have access to. Like I said, with the Robins and the Jordan Petersons and the Alex Hormozis, people really experts and ahead of their time that we get to experience. Amazing.
The accessibility of information, like the internet is still underrated, like, and it's still in its infancy. I'm curious, mate. It sounds like Tony Robbins was a big one for yourself, and has been, and probably continues to be. If I were to throw a guess, he's. I I believe, and I could be wrong here. NLP and also potentially hypnosis may be a part of his tool belt, I guess.
Mhm.
Neil, have you ever explored those two worlds of NLP and hypnosis?
Yeah, the neurolinguistic programming in the way that he does it. So the thing about I love about Tony is that his growth and adaptation over the I mean what now 30, 40, 50 years, I don't know, he's been practicing, I don't know, back in the days, and it's just kind of like change the way you think in those adverts, and now it's kind of like to and he did that book where he went and kind of just interviewed all the billionaires and see how they think. He's like, I see so much of myself in him. It's like I want to see how people tick. I want to see what's working, and I can take psychology along with it, but I'm going to be a bit rough around the edges with it, and just kind of like you see his Netflix documentary, and he swears at someone, and he just breaks them out of their pattern because he knows what language does. And I think he incorporates a lot of tools. And I used to think, and I think about it a lot. Obviously, I really dissect everything. I'm like, how is this man just helping out people, and he's like a million now billionaire? Like he's providing so much value to people, and he's doing what he does again, simple things well, over and over and over again, and building on that and a brand. You're not going to take down Tony Robbins. You can Adidas can cancel Yeezy shoes for Kanye West, and you ain't canceling Tony Robbins. Take down his
Mm.
profile, he's still Tony Robbins. And that's a beautiful thing to look. Why? Because that's going on to legacy, something I'm quite huge on. Not many people touch on this and talk about this. Um, but legacy, your second name, it means something. What are you going to leave? What's it about for you? Are you after the short-term gain? What does it all mean to you? Like, what are you after? So legacy is a big one, and he's done that massively as well. So it's about becoming the best version of yourself, providing value to people and helping others, but also creating a legacy.
How does legacy tie into your life, Neil, as far as strategy, decision making? Are you constantly focused on the end goal, on your dream life, or is it a little bit of a mixture? How does legacy play into your life?
I know my short-term goals and my long-term goals. I know people have. You look at some CEO routines on TikTok, and they'll ice plunge at 4 a.m. and do journaling at 4 5 a.m. and make a toasty. I'm like, cool, if that works for you. I'm a bit. Everyone ticks different. I'm saying what works for you. Like my mind works on such a motor that it might actually be better at 8 p.m. than it is at 8 a.m. for me, and it may be for you as
Mm.
well. So you've got to find where you tick and what kind of makes you tick. So for me, I'm an overthinker and an over analyzer. So long term things might fluster me and might not get me there. So I understand the steps that I must take in order to tick off the boxes to then it becoming a long term goal, because I understand the way I am. The long term stuff, I understand the end goal that I'm going to, but if the steps aren't short enough to get there, they aren't happening. So as I build, it's leverage again. It comes back to leverage. Like, well, how can I make X amount with the doing this with the least amount, but with the most value, and then it's going to get me to there. And then when I'm finally there, I can then look over the mountain and like I can do that. And I said this to Hayden as well, my business partner, the other day, and I was like, what's incredible when people get rich is not due to the choices they have, it's the time they have back.
Mm.
I can't imagine the things that I would achieve if I had my 50 hours a week back. Couldn't imagine it. It'd be crazy because I'm working around it right now. And that's for most people. And it's leverage that we don't have. Unfortunately, we've all made choices. We're all in certain jobs. We all do our careers and this and that. But can you imagine if you had all day, every day to work on nothing but yourself, how would you be? And that's not a great thing for everyone. People would sit on the couch and eat and watch Netflix. People would drink. People would go to the bars and party. So it's not for everyone. But I'm saying with the right mindset, you know, I love the saying is certain people look at if they were working, what was it? So if they're working 1 hour, if they made $1,000 in 1 hour, some people, well, the half people would go, I've made $1,000. That's amazing. That's me for the day. But the other people would go, I can make $7,000 in 7 hours.
Yep.
And
Yeah,
they the
that's so
ones who
real.
like 7 hours because they're getting that. But the other people would go, I made $1,000 in 1 hour. I'm done for the day. Love that.
Isn't that funny? So real.
So real.
So let's dive into tools. I don't know how big AI is in your world at the moment. Why don't I just ask the question, Neil, and stop trying to throw things in your head, eh? What is your favorite tool or program that you use currently?
So I actually attune and hold myself as actually quite a good copywriter for a few reasons. So when I was growing up, I was actually again into psychology, philosophy, and actually lyrics. So I'd write my own songs. So there's nothing barren than a page and a guitar and thinking I'm going to write what's in my head. So taking those skills, I've actually become a good copywriter. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to write this page out. It's going to be connective with someone, but also get sales out of them. So that's how I've done it as well. But I don't use AI for that reason, and I'm quite stubborn. Maybe I want to challenge myself, so I don't use AI for that reason. So one of my favorite tools actually is social media for a few reasons. That's quite probably a surprising one. People go, "Oh, I might use AI or Calendly." Let me tell you why in business social media is such a good thing, and it happened to us around Christmas. Christmas got a bit quieter. Some of our clients didn't. Obviously, if you're trying to sign a client on December 1st, then bravo if that happens, because they're thinking 4 weeks till Christmas, family presents. It doesn't happen. Obviously it didn't happen. So my favorite tool is social media and Instagram for a couple of reasons. My outreach can remain the same 7 days a week on Instagram because I can reach someone in America, I can reach someone in Africa, I can reach someone in New York, and those time zones don't stop. So everyone's different lives are going on at one point, and our life might be going through a certain phase. Theirs don't. So I can always find business through social media is such a powerful tool. And I pick Instagram the most. Why? Because Twitter, you have to pay just to message someone these days. LinkedIn, you've got to pay just to send 10 messages. I don't know. Facebook is becoming this metaverse world. It's just too confusing for most. So I don't find many people on there. Instagram remains free. DM them, get up to talk to them. They've got their contacts, their links. So Instagram is my favorite tool.
I love that. How long you been on the gram for?
Oh, say about 10 years.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, made a actually a couple of years ago. I made a business profile due to, again, a huge tip from a mentor that said it's like, I was using my personal one, but if you go on your personal one, you go, oh, like what's James doing today? The black hole starts. So I was like, right, different business pages. When I log on, it's just action. It's boom, DMs, boom, 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 boom. What they're doing, ads, boom, 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 boom. And I'm on this, and I don't know anyone from there. So there's no personal Instagram, and I'm bam, 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 bam. Then double click back to my personal one. It's a huge tip, by the way. So make business pages for those reasons. Do not get distracted. Be a maker of content, not a consumer.
Mm. What does that mean for you? Because I love that. Just unpack that a little bit, just for those that may not be 100% across that.
So we've all been down black holes of TikTok for 2-3 hours and nothing gets done. So you have to have that. And I in our age bracket, I think it's great because we grew up without that social media time where we have control still, but the younger people don't. Like you see like the bus and the trains and everyone's just like this on their phone. They are fully consumed by content. They are fully distracted. So even in my mind, I'm like, snap out of this. What are you doing? Like you're looking at nothing. So anytime you use social media as a leverage point for your business to make money or get something done, never use it to consume.
I went to an exercise how long ago? It's come in and out of my life. I do it in different stages, I guess. I'm literally going through, and it's most people copped it all right because I just told them up front. But literally going through and muting everyone. So the main reason I keep Facebook now outside of content creation is for Messenger, just to keep in touch with people. They can contact me there if they don't have my phone number. But yeah, I went through and just muted
Yeah,
all my friends' profiles so it wouldn't show up on my feed for that.
exactly what I said there. The reason for it. So you have to disconnect the social, your personals with your business.
Yep. Um, we've got a handful of questions there to go, Neil, but I know we've spoken about the Discord. I just want to make sure that we highlight the coaching work that you do, mate. So
Yeah.
why don't we start there and unpack that a little bit more?
Hayden, Hayden. Let's go back. Oh, I thought my roommate just popped in. I was like, I think he's waiting not to come by. I was like, come by. But all good. So yeah, I was like, is he waiting in the corner? I do live with someone. Yeah, so let's unpack the business coaching.
Yes.
I mean, look, we have touched on a lot of points about what I do, how I do it, and what I'm after, that type of thing. Perfectly, really. But yeah, look, so I business coach and hit all those areas and build those skills, whether it's life skills, sales, business, how to take you to the next step. It might seem so simple, but that one conversation like I've had with mentors and you might have with me or listening to this podcast can project you in such a way. We've all had that. I was obsessed with films growing up. Films, I think is a British term. Movies, what do you call them over here?
Yeah, cinemas. Cinemas versus cinemas, which is
Cinema, right? Yeah, there you go. So the
Yeah.
English films. So I was obsessed with them, and people were like, "You watch a lot of films at the end of the night." When I was younger, and I was like, "Yes," because I get everything done, and then at 8 p.m., that 1.5 hour allows me to switch my brain off, and during that time, I can engross myself in the film, not think about anything, and actually take stuff in. And some films have changed my life due to inspiration from them, the art of them, the way people think, the interaction with other cultures around the world. Like, so films for me was this like, for me, I imagine a film that is like a book that I can just process in an hour and a half. People don't see it that way. People see it as wasting time. Film is an art. Music is an art. Books are an art. Again, you're taking that in. So yeah, conversations, films, one session can change your life. Book now. Link below.
Well, yeah, we'll leave all the links there, and we'll make sure that everyone's across, how to best get in touch with yourself, Neil. One of my favorite questions, and I think every episode I bloody say the same thing. I need to find out where this originated from. May have been Tim Ferriss, but the question goes a little something like this. Neil, what is one thing you wish you knew before starting your career that you know now?
What's one thing I wish I knew is that you are never going to be able to do it alone. As much as a lone wolf that I am, I keep saying it, your network is everything. You're going to grow and challenge and do things on your own for sure. But like to get to that level, like you can grow a business on your own, but it's your business partners, it's your companions that are really going to take you to that next level.
You've touched on network a few times now. Who comes to mind, or I guess have you got a support crew or group of people? Your Discord, I would assume, would come into play there to a large degree as well. But have you got any other sort of support crew or network around you, Neil, sort of day to day?
So I have two business partners, which is Hayden, you've met, and another one is Ben from the UK, which we've created this agency through. As you can tell, I'm very selective who I spend my time with and who I choose to work with. Hayden is above and beyond, and Ben is very on a similar level as well. So we obviously have that same mindset. So all three of us gel, work really well together. It's another reason why we're doing so well so quick. It's another reason why the business has scaled so fast is, just that network, that like-minded people. And for a couple of reasons, I'll explain why. Like, again, I am only human and I only have X amount of days, hours in the day. And, if something comes up, I'm like, guys, look, can you jump on this call at 8 p.m., with this client instead of me? I've got you, cool. And then they do it back and forth. And then you have the support network system of a business that's never going down. It's like, It's like the quote from Batman. He's just like, as a person and as a man, I can be destroyed, but as a symbol, I can live forever. I'm undestroyable. I see the business as that like that. Like with three people, we're an entity. We're one. You know, if something doesn't get done, that person will do it. I'm covering this. I'm covering that. It's a full-on system machine, purely business stated.
Mm.
We don't bend to each other. We don't. Today was so hard. Again, we try to stay quite stoic with that, but the business side of things, it's completely that way.
Before we move too much further away, you mentioned books and movies.
Yeah.
So take me through some of your favorites, mate. Books, movies.
Oh, favorite books. Big one for me was the first book I ever read, because I'm not a huge reader. I'm not going to sit here and say I am. Again, I grew up a musician. I'm visual. I'm auditory. So films hit it massively for me, and it makes me think in certain ways. But books that I actually first one I'd ever read was The Power of Now, Aaron Tockelhart or something. I think the author is. Yeah, just understanding, just being present in the moment. The power of now is self-explanatory as it is. Again, a little bit more kind of thinking. It's a great book, really. Yeah. Another one, 12 Rules for Life, Jordan Peterson's first book.
Yeah.
A little read. That's one I kind of took a while to get through. Another one of his great things is, get your orders, in order at home before you go out and face the world. Like everything I've just gone over today, like completely right. Because you can't throw stones in glass houses. Like, is your house in order? Are you making your bed? Are you doing your training? Are you doing your daily tasks? Like, it's all in that one, Cool.
What? Keep going. Sorry.
No, and then a third one is anything Tony Robbins, which is book and audio book, Awaken the Giant Within, Giant Steps, Massive Action, just all of them. I would have them in audiobooks on there when I was commuting an hour of train a day to work in England. They would just be on. I would be hyped, man. Anyone on the train must have thought I was going into a fight. I was just hyped on the train, just back and forth, not thinking I'm listening to Metallica, but I was just Tony Robbins, like all day, every day. Loved it. Like it just went in. Do you know when some people, again, with teachers, when some people talk, it just goes in. It just goes in. Some people don't go in for me at all. You can talk. I'm like, oh man, it's not going in. Tony Robbins just went in for me at every level. His tone, his pace, his giantism is. I mean, I've got to stop fanboying over Tony Robbins for this last hour, but yeah, I'll meet him one day. But look, Unshakable, Unfaultable, those three books. Yeah, and then look, I'm not a huge reader. I'm a huge audiobook guy. I'm a huge podcast guy. I'm a huge visual guy. In terms of films, yeah, that's like asking a chef what's their favorite dish. Like you've got a range. I like them all. I like, all the oldies. I like anywhere from The Godfather to Scarface and Al Pacino's Goodfellas. But my favorite director has to be Christopher Nolan. Anything you've got, like, early films like Memento, Interstellar, Inception, all the Batmans, Oppenheimer, like just an unreal director in the way he does the film. It's quite dark in a sense, which I like. I like anything dark and kind of twisted in that sense in a film.
What's I've got Tim Gilbert in my head, but I don't think it's his bloody name. Johnny Depp's in all his bloody movies.
Oh, Edward Scissorhands. Tim Burton. Yeah,
Thank you.
Another one.
Yeah.
Yeah, just something you can takes you away for an hour and a half.
Yeah. Yeah.
Into another world. That he does that as well perfectly.
What do you do? So we're touching a little bit here about not necessarily, well, I guess escapism to a degree, but not that. It sounds more like decompression almost, giving your brain an opportunity to rest.
Yeah, and it doesn't switch off, by the way. It does not, as you can probably tell from this hour and a half, it does not switch off. But I understand these things. I've studied myself as much as I have other people. I'm massive into my nootropics and supplements, little things like that. In Canada, I actually explored a little bit with mushrooms, but not all types. I just really wanted to focus and open up my mind. And there's some certain herbs and nootropics that I take daily that I couldn't live without. Give me that sharp focus. Give me that edge. And again, that's just staying on top. Not everything completely natural. It's just staying on top of your game. Like there's little things, like huge tips that I've learned is that you shouldn't have coffee first thing in the morning. So what happens is when you wake up, you get short of cortisol in your body. And if you have that coffee straight away, it actually drops it. So that means you're tired around midday. That's why you have that midday crash. So you're supposed to wait 1 hour after you get up, then you have your coffee, and then you won't crash. So just things like that, caffeine intake, nootropics, herbs, mushrooms, that type of thing. They are game changers.
So the explosion of the idea of biohacking and optimizing your brain and body, coinciding, I think, with a lot of access to information and a lot of the science that's been coming out over the last, God, even 2 years when it comes to the brain, but definitely 5 to 10 years when it comes to the body. So, in line with that, Neil, you obviously keep your body in good shape to help you with your day to day.
Yeah.
What are some of your rituals, as it were, I guess, that keep you on top of your game?
I'm old school. I'm old school Balboa, man. Like I like a gym with no paint on the walls, with Arnie taped on the wall and Mike Tyson, and I just hell to leather for the barbells and the steel. That's it, me. I'm not fancy. I'm not jumping an ice bath, sauna, this and that, get a treatment. It's just I need to feel uncomfortable. I grew up in the middle of England. That if you went to a gym and you looked at someone the wrong way, you could get killed. You could get a dumbbell to the back of the head, which you've been, as I see. So for me, it was like that uncomfortability made me grow. You really knew who the king of the jungle was in certain gyms, and then that testosterone can be healthy. I think just touching on that point that you just said is that if you haven't checked a guy called out, this biohacking kind of leading the science is someone called Gary Brecker. He's worked with Dana White and stuff like that, but he's really on top of the changes hormonal. I always say to people, if they're looking at their fitness journey, go and get a blood panel done. I was like, have you ever had a blood test done before? No, I haven't, and I'm 28, I'm 35. Like, Jesus Christ, go get one done. Find out what your testosterone is. Find out what your cortisol is. Find out what your creatine, your estrogen, your prolactin, all these things, your iron, your thyroid that girls have a problem with because of birth control. All these things you're just in the dark with. And I did mine. I do them every 6 months now. That's where I am. We are living in an industrial world, and people aren't biohacking to go to another level. They're biohacking to feel normal. People don't understand what normal feels like anymore, because our industrial world is microplastics. There's estrogen in everything, and which is a sex hormone, which is in our water supply, our foods, and everything. So it's actually making men less fertile, more weak, having more features. This is why girls grow up really quick in our generation, and guys are kind of lacking now. It's a lot of these hormones and stuff in our food. So that's what I say: get your hormones in check first, then look at your diet, then look at your exercise. It actually lasts. We're living in an industrial world, unfortunately. Plastics, chemicals, everything. I actually go quite a huge step of sorting my toothpaste out, no fluoride, the chemicals in which I wash my dishes with, just everything I can. I don't drink tap water, all those things.
How do you get around the tap water? You got osmosis going, or?
Stuff, yeah. So in places I go to work, we have a filtration system, and we just have a filter here. Yeah, and I'm even kind of query when I use bottled water, but look at any test they do, especially Australian water, is quite rough. A lot of plastics, chemicals, every tap water is just tested. It's just this fluoride in it, the metals. We're just ingesting that every single day. A simple filter, just get rid of just the basics, really.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
so stuff.
That's brilliant. The nootropics is interesting.
It is.
The idea of stuff it. I'll say the idea of micro dosing was sort of coming in and out of pondering, I guess, with myself. I haven't done it yet, but I will do it at some stage. But yeah, interesting science around it anyway.
Very, very interesting, and actually legal in Canada, Vancouver, where I lived for a year, 2 years ago during COVID, as well as marijuana in California and all those things. Those places have been quite forward thinking and liberal. The psilocybin that is in the mushrooms from the ground, they are using in hospitals and mental health sectors now, due to the reason that if a person has a mental health issue, they are given a white pill from a doctor, which actually boosts something and masks something. But as soon as you take that away, it's gone and it's even worse. Psilocybin is the only compound on this earth that is found to heal the neural pathways and bring them back together. So it's actually making the brain work again. So that when you come off them, they're still healed. It heals and fixes the problem, not masks it like modern Western medicine does. I refuse to take a white pill. anything from the doctor unless I've got my arm chopped off and I've got to take that antibiotic, because it's so bad for you in many different ways. And people just lack the raw materials that the body needs. People are vitamin D deficient if they took some vitamin D every day. People are, not getting enough magnesium. Their water's, poisoned. We're eating out of plastics. It's just like our non-stick frying pan, stuff's coming off every time we cook. It's just microwave food. It's endless. No wonder you feel absolutely awful, So all those things I put in check. But the neurotopic thing, sorry, you're completely right. The mental edge that it gives you, they give to cancer patients before dying, because it gives them such a level of acceptance. It's something that I've done that I think is probably one of the best things you can do, especially as someone crying these creative lines. The way you think, the way you let go, your brain just becomes a certain instrument, and then you get addicted to that feeling of it's like a limitless pill, really is. It's like the limitless pill. But then I kind of went away from that study and was like, I've done that for a year now in Canada. Can't really do that in Australia. It's a little bit more frowned upon, a little bit more consequences. So I was like, look, like I'm really into this natural nootropic biology medicine. Again, I'm picking it apart. So I was like, what herbs do this and work? And something really interesting that's just come out is ashwagandha, if you've heard of that on the shelves. So Chemist Warehouse and Coles, I've whipped a sticker on, gone ashwagandha, $10. People, ashwagandha is 1,000-year-old Ayurvedic Indian medicine that has been around for as long as time as you can say, and it's now westernized. So these herbs are making a comeback for a reason of a couple of things they do. They sort your hormones out, lower cortisone stretch, which is massive in the corporate 9-to-5 world, and autoimmune and antioxidant, a range of things. And these are herbs from the earth. So they're completely available, and mushrooms and everything, all that sort of jazz as well. So yeah, massive to look into to give you that edge.
You dive deep into bloody, how do you pronounce it, Neil? Ayurveda? Ayurveda?
Ayahuasca? Oh, Uvuric.
Yeah, it might be that.
So the Uvuric is like an Indian medicine system that they have created, and a lot of amazing herbs have come from Southeast Asia, Asia, but India, yeah, dived a little bit into that. They've got, they think like turmeric. They were the ones that started washing their teeth with charcoal, and everyone thought that was really weird years and thousands of years ago. Now everyone's got charcoal in their toothpaste. So things they really thought about first, really, it's just natural medicines. In Asia and India, those kind of Asian Eastern countries, is fascinating. I thoroughly believe, and I've seen it in documentaries and people curing cancer with just vitamin C, large doses, plant diet, whatever. There is anything that can be cured in the human body is already available to us on the planet through some sort of natural medicine. That's where Western medicine is derived from. Where do you think they're getting these? They think just put a couple of powders together and made a white pill. It's derived from a plant derivative of what the plant can do. Then they copy it, make it bioavailable, and sell it at a price.
The bioavailability thing. What does Gary Brecker call it? Is it methylated or something?
Methylation, yeah. So methylate certain vitamins, in which we can do. And he says get a genetic test to see what you can, again, for these tests and blood, it's great to start off with. See what you can methylate. Some people are iron deficient. They can't process the iron. Some people's thyroids are completely out of whack, and all these things that you're just going to constantly have problems with.
Mate, I could sit there and talk about that stuff for another 2 hours with you. I've got a question here. We've got another tradition on the show, Neil, where
Yes.
I stole this. I unashamedly stole this from a gentleman by the name of Stephen Bartlett, who has a podcast called Diary from a CEO, or Diary of the CEO. Basically, the previous guest gets to leave a question for the following guest. Right. And of course, they have no idea who it is. So the question left for yourself was from Lauren and Sheridan Harvey from Melbourne duo Lash 78. So they're doing some pretty big things and about to release a bunch of original music as well very soon.
Yeah, so question from a musician. How interesting. How does that tie?
Yeah, mate. Yeah. So the question that Lauren and Sheridan have left, could you share an experience where you overcame personal fears or self-doubt and how that decision positively impacted your life?
God, thought about it, didn't they? Use it in a sentence. No, what was it? Can you repeat one more time? Sorry.
Yes. Could you share an experience where you overcame personal fears or self-doubt and how that decision positively impacted your life?
Yeah, look, it's got to be 5 years ago moving to Australia, like with the backpack, like having no clue, being like, right, I'm going to swim with the sharks now, and I'd never been as well, so I was new soon. So, I mean, you can touch on it. You've lived in England, you can see the difference in culture and land and everything. So for me, it was like fear of leaving home. Is it going to work? And then obviously now it's a place I'm going to settle down and live. So probably the best decision that I made, but complete fear and of the unknown and hadn't even been. So most people would visit the place first and then move, but for me it was like, I mean, every UK in Palm, as they say, is the thing. We will come on a working holiday visa for 1 year, we travel and then we fall in love with it. But I actually did it the right way. I came and I traveled the entire East Coast first, saw all the beauty that Australia had, all the islands, all the things you just would dream of. And then I decided, right, this is the place for me. I think some people can come from England, go to Sydney, do a 9 to 5, get stuck, and it's just like, well, just live in London. Like, I don't know what you're doing. So yeah, that was probably
Yeah.
that for me.
Okay. I like that. Neil, nice and simple, mate. What brings you joy?
What brings me joy? I don't compute with that word. What's that? Joy? No, joking. Um, Yeah, look, I'm a bit of a freak when it comes to just achieving and building a legacy. You know, something my parents can be proud of, something I can be proud of. And we touched on this a lot today. It's just waking up and being. It's something that happened for me in the last year. Being proud about yourself and going, every day I get to choose the person that I am. Are you happy today with that decision? Are you following through with that? And that comes with time and experience. But yeah, just achieving and going, like, we all feel good when we do something hard. We all feel good when we achieve something and go to the gym and build a business and do this. So yeah, just building that legacy and it's something that can be mine, my own, and have my stamp on it, really, yeah.
Uh, this is one of the last questions, mate, and I want to make sure we've touched on
Yeah.
everything that we wanted to touch on. So, if there was just one thing that people could implement today to bring about the biggest change in their life, what would you recommend?
You see, I was going to make a joke there and say the mushrooms get involved, but I would it definitely would change life. But
Yeah, yeah.
no, but the thing I could recommend over from a perspective that we've just spoke about for the last few hours is, look, the power of daily scheduling and tasks. I promise you, if you're just getting started, you're completely lost. You don't know kind of where it's going. Just write down, not for the next day in bed the night before, what I'm going, 4 daily tasks, 5 daily tasks, what I want to achieve. Start ticking them off one by one. Start to do that daily. You have no idea how far that will pivot you to where you want to be and go. And then it's no longer a thought, it's an action.
How long have you been doing that for?
Religiously for 2 years now. I'm not gonna lie, it's not been forever, but to the point where my time had to be managed to a certain degree, then yeah, 2 years. And look, like I said, it's leverage. Like if I'm at the point now where I'm complete, one-on-one solo. Like I'm in charge of my life and my decisions. If I get to a step ladder where I'm making a certain amount and create a certain business, I'll have a scheduler. I will have a person to let people to have that stuff in and like, oh, here's your list for today, and here's your team, here's your staff members, and you just start to build. Everything starts to get easier. But the work at the bottom of the triangle just has to be done. It's hard, man. It's graft. It's, as they say, it's like Alex Hormozy says, it's like 80% of people go for 1 month, and then only 20% of people last for the second month, and then it's only like 5% or something. You did a statistic, go past that third and fourth month because it's just no return. You're getting no return for the first 4 months. They're still right. They're still doubting you. Then the 6 months, they're still right. They're still doubting you. You've got no return. Then that year hits and you're like, here we go. I've just hit that year. And it's relentless. It's relentless. If you showed me that was going to happen again through the next year, I would have fear in my eyes because it's been grafting, hard work, late nights, no social, no fun, and it's not for everyone, and it would break the sanest person. So, and just coming out of a pandemic, I've decided
Yeah.
to isolate myself. I've decided to do the work, but no, it has to be done. And look, I'm not saying it. I've got a, I live in Brisbane in a great apartment with a great roommate. I've got a great business team, partners and stuff like that. Just unfortunately, the fun has to be switched off. Someone said it right, like you either sacrifice temporary fun for permanent pleasure, or sacrifice permanent pleasure for temporary fun.
Mm,
You
I
know,
love
so
that.
you just gotta do it. And if, again, it's everyone, the young generation is distracted, and like I completely get it. Like, look, I'm not 21. Like everyone's going out having a good time, and they're going to have a good time. I am not that person, surprisingly, that's like 7 days a week, 12 hours. If you can, great, it'll get you there quicker. But life needs to happen in between. I did choose to do my
Mm.
traveling before. Life has to happen in between the breath, as they say. So I've got all these experiences because I had this fear of, if I get hit by a car and I'm lying out there in the ditch, no one's going to remember my Apple Notes, but I'm going to remember all my experiences of traveling the world, and that's going to be with me. And that's probably most. Think about it. If you're about to die, what's most important to you? My experiences, my memories. I don't have a Lamborghini. No one's going to get to my Apple Notes on my computer. That's probably some of the best work a copywriter I've done. It doesn't matter. So live the life as well as you can, but make sure the work is done.
That's a bloody profound quote, that mate. I love that.
Yeah. We're whipping them up tonight, aren't
I was just thinking that.
we?
Yeah. So actually, that's mate. You thought about writing a book?
Oh, yeah. Look, future plans. I think, again, I think I'm in love with writing, creating, that type of thing. I am still a creative, in the back of my mind. I've trained myself to be this way. I mean, if you talk to anyone in my family, like, they would tell you that Neil would be the quiet child in the back of the room that wouldn't say anything. My dad actually had to have words with me and was like, or sorry, he was worried about me, and it was kind of like, he's not saying anything. He's sitting around in a room, when no one's saying anything. Everyone's really worried about me, but I was just that. I was the musician. I was the deep thinker, man. I was just constantly analyzing, and and I've understood over the years, that's my biggest plus and my biggest negative. But I use my negatives as a positive to achieve, but it can tear me apart at the same time. Know your strengths and weaknesses. So I was that kid growing up. I didn't want to talk to anyone. I was very introverted. But then all of a sudden, I have to sing on a stage to 50,000 people. I have to, like Michael Jackson, he switches on an alter ego. Beyonce knows, switches on an alter ego. And that does something to you. Then I became a teacher, and you have to begin. So I've taught myself to train myself, to talk in a certain way, hold myself in a certain manner. Something I've sit and thought about. Most people do. Not most people do. I think about the way I'm sitting in a room with people, the way my hands are set, the way my tone is, the way I'm looking at someone, the way I'm standing up and shaking hands. Again, people don't think about the simple things done well. So yeah, I've definitely come a long way from that.
Mate, I just want to give a quick shout out to Pino. Pino's just left a comment saying there is more value in Neil and Hayden's coaching calls in Discord than any course that they've paid for. So
It's been a
nice little, yeah,
Yeah,
nice little real
yeah,
time shout out.
has been a one that's again what I said, completely took advantage of jumping in the Discord, listening to everything we're saying, taking it on board, making notes, going out and practicing it, and that's what you'll get is results. Like, Hayden is like me, is that he's very far ahead. He puts things into action very quick, and he learns very quick from his mistakes, like I do, and it won't happen again. It won't happen again. Like, we hold ourselves accountable for that. So that's great. So we boom, 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 next stage, and we're that fast people to keep up with. So yeah, look, and I'm glad people are enjoying the content in the Discord. We do it out of our free time, Like I said, and now watching this, you can see how valuable my time is. So, in sense of how little of it I have. So yeah, we do put a lot into that Discord, a bit of love, and I'm writing, and I do enjoy my writing. I do look at myself as a writer, a lyricist, a writer, a copywriter. So I put all that into that. To try and, again, like Tony Robbins, get the value out, try and change people's patterns, disrupt them, make them think in a certain way. Because again, I've always had that ability to teach, and I feel I can say it in a certain way that other people can. I'm always let down by teachers. We actually had a training session at work the other day to do with some software. This guy spoke for 2 hours, and then the girls came out and they were just confused as I was, and they were new. I sat down with the girls for 20 minutes and I actually wrote, because I saw all their faces in the meeting, I had a notepad.
Mm.
I wrote out the way to explain it before it ended. And I went to the guys and goes, come here for 20 minutes. And they're like, I'm so confused. What was that? I swear to God, in 10 minutes, I made a chart, I made a visual thing, I made 4 lines, and I made the sections. And I went, this is how you do it. And they were like, you've just explained that in 10 minutes. That guy went on for 2 hours. And I went, that's exactly my point about precision and intent of what you mean and what you're saying. Yeah.
Before we let everyone know the best places to connect with yourself, Neil, I'm curious, mate, what music you into?
Oh, again, like, look, I'm a lover of music. I was actually, there's this stages in my life I was learning Italian opera, trying to learn Pavarotti. I've loved metal and I play that in the gym. I'm a deer for absolute acoustic, chilled out, real songwriting music from Bob Dylan all the way to Damien Rice. Yeah, look, just a lover of music, but I would say it probably lies, my roots is classic rock, AC/DC, Pink Floyd, Led Zeppelin. Those are the ones that really did it for me. So that's still me, yeah.
Top 3 classic rock songs ever written.
Jesus, songs. One's got to be by Pink Floyd from either like, Another Brick in the Wall, Time, or Wish You Were Here. And then I've got to be prejudiced or, sorry, wrong word. I've got to be biased and pick AC/DC because they're my all-time favorite. Best thing to come out of Australia since Kangaroos. Highway to Hell. Highway to Hell's got to be an absolute anthem. And then the third one, I think I was listening to quite a few today, actually. Journey is a big one for me. No one can sing like Steve Perry, so Don't Stop Believing's got to be an anthem, to be fair.
I would put forward one of the forgotten classics, and I would say one of the most underrated songs ever written, Dream On by Aerosmith.
Yeah, you're right, Dream On. Big one. Yeah.
Neil, thank you very much. This has been 2 hours of jam-packed value.
A lot of value.
Mate, if your Discord, and I've got no doubt that it is, we've got a real-time referral. What do you say? That review, I guess, from Pino there. So thanks, Pino. Where do people find you, Neil? And who are the people that you best help or serve?
Okay, so there's a few places you can find me. I generally work off all socials, so I have a TikTok page that I'm kind of currently building as a personal brand, and through that you can see my coaching kind of style and skills. And then I also kind of work off my Instagram and saying 2 kind of non-negotiables for me, which have my Calendly link, which you can book a session through just simple email, and Calendly, which I get. So just to keep it simple, those 2. And then also I'll share the Discord link where people can just join up for free, get involved. So yeah, TikTok, my socials, it literally is just my name, Neil McMillan, with an extra N, but I'll share it. And then the Discord link, which will obviously be a bit more personalized. But yeah, just those few things.
Mate, is there anything that we haven't sort of touched on, or that you want to shine a light on?
No, I think we've covered it. It's been a good 2 hours. Look, it's made me think for sure. It's
That's
you've
awesome.
probably got some of my best work out of me tonight. Must have been mood.
Mate, really appreciative of it. Ladies and gentlemen, do yourselves a favor, go and check him out. We'll put the links in all the comments on the socials. But Mr. Neil McMillan, thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you, mate. See you again.
Thanks, mate. Bye.
Ciao.